The Code of Conduct Tribunal will on July the 13th decide if the chairman of the tribunal will disqualify himself for hearing the case of alleged falsification of assets brought against the Senate President by the federal government. Dr. Bukola Saraki had accused the chairman of the tribunal of bias following a statement he made on June the 7th to the effect that he must face the consequences of his trial no matter how long it takes. Our correspondent Amaka Okafor reports.
It's the continuation of proceedings in the trial of the Senate President Bukola Saraki over an alleged false declaration of assets. The issue for consideration is an application by the defendant asking the chairman of the tribunal to disqualify himself on the ground of bias. Lawyer to the Senate President, Paul Erukoro, told the tribunal that his client is not confident that he will get fair hearing because of a statement the chairman of the tribunal made suggesting he will face full consequences of his trial. He told the tribunal that neither the chairman, who was personally served with the motion, nor the prosecution has denied the statement. Erukoro argued that by implication, the chairman of the tribunal and the prosecution have admitted making the statement, and as such, the chairman should disqualify himself in the interest of justice and fair trial. He said the independence and impartiality of the chairman, as envisaged in Section 36 of the Constitution, can no longer be guaranteed. According to Erukoro, a good reason for the chairman of the tribunal to disqualify himself has already been established, and once a judge by words or action show he cannot hold the scale of justice, he should disqualify himself. When asked by the panel what should happen to the tribunal should the chairman disqualify himself, Erukoro said there is a statutory provision giving powers to the appointing authority to appoint the full complement of the panel. Opposing the motion, the prosecutor, Rotimi Jacobs, describes the motion as frivolous, an abuse of court proceedings designed to delay and frustrate the trial. According to him, the statement of the chairman was to the effect that the Senate President will face the consequence of the trial and not of the charge. He says this means that the Senate President could either be acquitted or convicted. He reminded the tribunal that this same delay had been employed earlier, asking the chairman of the tribunal to disqualify himself, but that the tribunal should resist the temptation of inviting it to take up the statutory job of the appellate court.
And it's our fear that he's already made up his mind and will convict the defendant whether or not there is evidence, and that in view of that, he should no longer participate in the hearing of the matter.
I'm saying that the judge has not prejudged his mind in saying that I will conclude this case.
This is the second time the chairman of the tribunal has been asked to step aside and disqualify himself from hearing the case of falsification of assets brought against the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki. It remains to be seen if he will concede to the prayers or not when he delivers his ruling on July the 13th, 2016. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
Let's take another look at our lead story now, which is on the resident doctors' strike and efforts by the House of Representatives to intervene in the face-off between the representatives of the Ministry of Health and the leaders of the National Association of Resident Doctors appears to have yielded positive results, as the chairman of the House Committee on Health Institutions says she's hopeful that the strike action embarked on by the National Association of Resident Doctors may be called off in the next few days. The lawmaker was speaking after a 5-hour meeting convened by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, with the federal government delegation and the leaders of the National Association of Resident Doctors. The Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, says they've agreed to sheathe their swords in the interest of Nigerians. The president of the Association of Resident Doctors of Nigeria, Muhammad Askira, however, says the strike has not been called off yet.
We had a very fruitful meeting at the instance of the Right Honourable Speaker of the House of Representatives, and we've agreed that we will restore normalcy to all our teaching and tertiary institutions, and he has agreed that he will look into all the issues, and we will reconvene on 14th of July just to finalize on all issues. But we have agreed to sheathe our sword and put the interest of the average Nigerian citizen up front.
We have not suspended the strike. We have constructively engaged ourselves with the National Assembly leadership, which we have so much reverence for, and we are taking the matters we have agreed to our members, and from that we will then get our resolutions by the Congress.
We've had a very fruitful discussion with all stakeholders. You can see that we had almost all the major stakeholders in the health institution here. So we are hopeful that in the next couple of days there will be a call-off of the strike. We are hopeful about that because we've discussed extensively, and the minister is here, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health is here, and they are agreeable to most of the issues that have been raised, and the Honourable Speaker was also part of the meeting. Like you noticed, we've been sitting for almost 6 hours, and I think we should be able to have these issues resolved as soon as possible.
And while we keep our eye on that, let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Yemisi Ikbaye. Yemisi.
Hello, Ejoma. Great to see you. Welcome to Abuja, the nation's capital. The presidency is not taking it lying down with the governor of Ekiti State, Mr. Ayodele Fayose, over the governor's link of the president's wife, Aisha Buhari, to a bribery scandal. A reaction from the presidency explains that Fayose's comments are a blatant distortion of the facts. The governor had linked the president's wife, Aisha Buhari, to U.S. Congressman William Jefferson's bribery scandal, for which the American lawmaker was convicted in 2009. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, also points out that Aisha Buhari has no direct or indirect connection with William Jefferson's corruption scandal. He then challenged Governor Fayose to tell Nigerians if the so-called Aisha, whose pictures he proudly but ignorantly shared, was the same Aisha married to President Muhammadu Buhari, or if the Aisha of his idle imagination had any relationship by blood or any relationship in whatever form with President Buhari's wife. Hope for the completion of the second Niger Bridge has been rekindled as the federal government has restated its commitment to make the project a reality. The Minister of Works, Power and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, gave this assurance during an inspection tour of the bridge and other project sites in Anambra State, southeast Nigeria.
The minister arrives at the head bridge, Onitsha.
How are you doing, sir? You're welcome.
And is received by the governor of Anambra State, Mr. Willie Obiano. He is ushered into a meeting with contractors handling the construction of the second Niger Bridge and members of the Anambra State Traditional Council to trash out problems hindering the completion of the project. Here, stakeholders take turns to voice their concerns.
We have about, let's say, 10 kilometers of road and 1.5 kilometers of bridge. Yeah? We are well set up. We have procured a lot of materials. As soon as money becomes available, ready to carry out the main works. Consultation of the community stakeholders so far have been absolutely negligible.
The minister believes there is a way for all problems to be solved without holding up the progress of the project.
Whatever the social and economic rights relating to lands are, I think that we will be better off if we resolve them while construction goes on. In that way, we win both ways. We have a bridge and we also get compensation.
Mr. Obiano is full of hope that the task will be completed in record time, but makes an appeal that the federal government refund monies it owes Anambra State for the projects the state embarked on last year.
Please help us as much as you can and very quickly too before we die. We'll get our money, a very serious chunk of it back so that we can put in other projects. It will also motivate us to help federal government in the roads they have here, the bridges. You know, part of the money included the three major roads that were to fail last year that I intervened on.
The party moves from the meeting place to inspect the Zik Mausoleum, a section of the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, and the site of the bridge in question, which the minister assures the community is a top priority of the current administration, since its completion will accelerate economic prosperity and transportation, as well as ease the burden on the first Niger Bridge.
The United States government is partnering with the Nigerian Air Force in its ongoing medical outreach to internally displaced people in Borno State. Deputy head of the mission at the U.S. Embassy to Nigeria, Mary Brewer, said this in Maiduguri, the state capital, after a tour of the Air Force Hospital, the IDP's Dalori camp. The Director for Medical Services, Air Vice Marshal Saleh Shinkafi, says the humanitarian-based Air Force medical outreach is determined to meet the immediate medical needs of displaced people.
We have full services in all departments, be it the general outpatient consultation, the eye sector, dental. We now also provide the maternity and the delivery services. So all these ones we have been doing, and now this private NGO saw what the Nigerian Air Force is doing, and they donated a 40-feet container containing medical consumables and equipment, instrument to us, to support us in what we are doing. Now some of these items, there are so much we deployed here, and even part of them we have sent to Yola, also another IDP camp where we are working.
I am always touched by the Nigerian military, their health corps, and how they reach out to the civilian populations wherever they are. I am told that up to 70% of the patients treated by the Nigerian military are civilians, and they're being treated, not just the active duty military members. So that's something that I think that is admirable that the military is doing, and I'm happy to be part of that. I'm happy that the American people are helping in their small way as well.
Following allegations of sexual misconduct brought against 3 House of Representatives members, one of the lawmakers, Representative Mark Billa, has called for a detailed public investigation into the matter. The lawmaker disputed the allegations made by the Ambassador of the United States to Nigeria, Mr. James Entwistle, who lodged a formal complaint to the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, who has ordered an investigation into the matter, says the allegations are not conclusive enough to decide that anyone is guilty.
It is an incident that has continued to generate newspaper headlines. Allegations of sexual misconduct involving 3 members of the House of Representatives. One of the lawmakers has approached the House on the matter, demanding justice.
No such incident occurred. I want to place this on record. And I want Nigerians and my fellow colleagues to realize that even though we are in the eye of the storm today, we will bear this cross boldly, because the righteous are as bold as a lion.
The lawmaker emphasized that he believes the allegations are meant to tarnish the image of the members involved and the Legislative House. He also demands a detailed and open investigation into the matter.
The particular hotel under question, I have stayed in several and countless of them all over the world, and at no point I dare the U.S. ambassador and the U.S. government to prove that this event actually happened. Mr. Speaker, I want to pray that this honorable House, with immediate effect, because time is of the essence, constitute either a special panel or refer it to the related committee of this House to immediately commence very detailed and public. I want to state categorically here, please, Mr. Speaker, let it be a public hearing and investigation.
In her contribution, the chairman of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs appealed to Nigerians for caution on the matter.
That we must do our best to de-escalate this situation. That we recognize that this is an issue, even though it affects 3 members of parliament, it is an issue between the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a sovereign state, and the United States of America, another sovereign state.
As the matter was not up for the debate, the Speaker, rounding up, made it clear that the matter is a serious one.
What we will conjure from this allegation is not enough under the law to conclude that someone is guilty until the standard in the US, the standard in Nigeria is complied with.
The House has mandated a joint committee on ethics and foreign affairs to investigate the matter and report back to the House. The report will guide the House on the position it will take on the matter.
And that's all from us in Abuja. Now back to Lagos for business news with Emana.